Here are some sleep tips for busy leaders because I know some of you out there right now are feeling a little tired. Sleep is a major challenge, especially for busy professionals. We're going to talk about some strategies that you can use right away. My name is Ken Okel. I am a professional speaker, and I talk to audiences about ways you can improve your performance on the job. I give insider knowledge from my time spent in broadcast news, hurricane relief, and professional ballet. Now, whoa, I know, unusual combination. In each and every field, though, I had to perform at a high level every day under pressure. First, let's get to some of the numbers. And for some of you, this is going to seem very familiar. I am talking about the 2022 State of Sleep Report. Here's the bad news. It found that a third of all respondents say their sleep is fair or poor. You may be thinking, well, if someone doesn't get enough sleep, how does it affect me? Well, it has a trickle-down effect because the report, and let me look up this number, the American economy loses an estimated $44.6 billion annually in unplanned absences as a result of poor sleep among workers. So maybe you're among those people who get 7 to 9 hours of sleep a night and you feel good every day. Wonderful. You don't necessarily have to watch the rest of this video, but if you know people who may be struggling with getting enough sleep and performing well on the job, or perhaps you're the one who needs to get a little more sleep, these tips I think can come in handy. First off, this is a really simple idea. Know your number. I'm talking about how many hours of sleep do you need so that the next day you wake up and you're like, I'm all rested, I'm ready to go. How do I define that in a professional sense? Often I think of it like this. Let's say you start work, whether it's in person or virtually. Could you lead an important meeting? Could you make an important decision right at the start of your day? Or are you kind of like, okay, I'm going to need a bunch of coffee and at least 90 minutes before I can do anything? If you're in this category, I think you may need a little more sleep. So start to think about, okay, how many hours of sleep do I need? Maybe it's 7, maybe it's 8 hours. Then you do the math. Because if you need to wake up at this time and you need this many hours of sleep, then figure out when do you need to go to bed. I don't know about you, but the getting to bed part is often the challenge because we live in a world where there's a lot of stuff going on. And before we know it, it's later than we thought. We think of a little thing we should check on the internet, and before we know it, we've got a deep dive on all these different ideas, all these links we're clicking. It's an hour later. You say, I'm just going to check my work email real quick, just 5 minutes. Next thing you know, it's been 45 minutes. And there's a lot of TV nowadays. We got the streaming world, broadcasts. There's a lot to watch. And especially in the streaming world, man, those people, they are sneaky because if you're watching a show, the first episode ends and the next episode will automatically start within like 5 to 10 seconds. So it's easy to say, well, we'll just keep watching because the last episode ended on a cliffhanger and I got to know what's happening. In all these cases, can you limit these things that are distracting you from sleeping? Maybe when it comes to the Netflix or other streaming shows, you say, you know what? I'll live till tomorrow. I can find out what happened. I don't have to watch it right now. Or really use discipline to say, if I'm going to check my email and I say 5 minutes, I'm going to keep it at 5 minutes. Or 2 hours before I go to bed, I'm not going to surf the net anymore because I realize that before I know it, I will waste a bunch of time and cheat myself out of sleep. Make sure you're honoring that time when you say you're going to go to bed. Has this ever happened to you? You get to bed on time. You're in your pajamas, you're comfortable, you close your eyes, and nothing's happening. You're not falling to sleep, even though you did everything. Here's the situation. Sometimes our minds need time to unwind. If I go back to that sleep survey, here's an interesting statistic. 81% of Americans say mental activity, thinking, your mind is racing, you're having feelings about tomorrow or the past. Those things either keep you from going to sleep or you get about 2-3 hours of sleep, you wake up in the middle of the night, you're wide awake, and you cannot get back to sleep. So even though you thought you did everything right to get into bed on time, the sleep thing just doesn't work. In these cases, I find you got to give yourself more time to unwind. For me, it's about 90 minutes. Before I go to bed, I need to stop doing work stuff. And this is hard, but I have to say, no more work. I'm just going to do something I enjoy. I'm going to watch some TV, a movie, listen to some music, read, some sort of ritual where I am able to relax and get out of that work mode. In a way, it's like treating yourself. What you're really doing is making sure that your mind calms down. You're able to get out of work mode, get into sleep mode that much easier. Finally, can you have some rituals that you do if you wake up in the middle of the night and you're having some trouble getting back to sleep? Maybe you have a good book by your night table and you just read that for a few minutes, your mind calms down, you go back to sleep. Occasionally, I will listen to a podcast episode. Usually I try to pick those that don't have commercial interruptions in them because usually those commercial interruptions are much louder. What often happens is I start the podcast episode and then I never hear the end because I've fallen back to sleep. You may want to use headphones for this, as if you're sleeping with someone else, they may not appreciate the podcast as much as you do. But try to think about, okay, if I wake up in the middle of the night, what am I going to do to get back to sleep? Maybe it's just a quick trip to the bathroom, glass of water, adjust the room temperature, you go back into the bed, you're fine. For some people, it's even an exercise like counting sheep. You may do some sort of ritual where you're counting to 10 or counting down from 10, and maybe each number you say something associated with it. For instance, the number 1, you think of an animal, an ape. 2, elephant. 3, parrot. Whatever it is, it's a category, and with each number, you associate it with something, in this case, an animal. It's a silly exercise, but occasionally that's enough to shift your mind out of whatever anxieties you may have been feeling, and suddenly you're able to get to sleep. Might be worth trying. If you want to find out more about me, go to my website, kenokel.com. While there, you can see some clips from my speaking presentations, which hopefully won't put you to sleep, read my articles, and even listen to my podcast, The 2-Minute Takeaway. Thanks so much for watching. I'm Ken Okel. Take care.